What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about MicroStrategy today, or strategy as it's now known, MSTR. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. Okay, here we are on this, the 23rd of April, at about $346. Opening up the day with a gap up as Bitcoin was seeing, I think it was at about 94K, probably 94,500 as MicroStrategy was opening here. So we had that nice gap up. I do believe Bitcoin will see a little turbulence here, potentially falling back to about $90,000, $89,000, maybe as low as 86K. I don't expect it goes lower than that, but if it does, whatever, we'll deal with it at that point. But I don't think it'll be a problem. MicroStrategy as a turn, we'll probably see a little bit of turbulence as well, coming down to fill this gap that you formed today, maybe even coming down to fill the gap that you formed yesterday. By the way, the gap is not just what you see here, right? The gap technically formed here because that was the daily close. This was the daily open, so the gap to fill is between this area here, right? I'm not saying that it happens, but we could go all the way down to $317. It's a possibility to consider at the very least, right? If we're looking at the current price here, I mean, that is about an 8% drop versus Bitcoin. What would it do in that same amount of time? Bitcoin could drop about 4%. I could see it happening. It could happen. So not financial advice, not a financial advisor. I feel like oftentimes whenever I compare the price of Bitcoin to MicroStrategy, it actually throws off my analysis. But for once, I did the analysis first and then compared it, and it actually seems to make sense. So I do like the idea of going down to 317. We could go down there. I'm not saying it has to happen, but 317, something below 330 is what I would believe, right? We're at 345 now, 346. So I do believe we have a little bit lower to go. Of course, the only way that would be absolved, that we don't see that, is if Bitcoin happens to make the majority of this move down, or it makes that move down and then pulls back up while MicroStrategy is closed, while the stock market is closed, then probably you don't see those negative repercussions in the price action, right? That could happen. So just be aware of that, right? If we're looking at this on a daily time frame, looking at the RSI here, we are looking like we want to get overbought. We're in a nice posturing to get overbought, but again, finding turbulence sometimes in these areas, it happens. You can find a slight bit of turbulence, a little bit of a rejection, and then continue working your way up. It's not a problem if you do. Let's just look back here. For example, right? Like you found a little turbulence there. Found a little turbulence here. It was just a little bit, right? It's common enough whenever working your way up to the overbought zone. Sometimes you just make a straight run up, and that's the preferred method, of course. Nothing says that we have to correct from here. Looking at the daily, the MACD. The MACD is actually starting to shape up really nice, you guys, on MicroStrategy. You are crossed. You're bullishly. You've got bullish momentum building, and your oscillators are building above the zero. This is good. This is really good stuff, actually. This is very powerful on a daily basis. 3-day basis, of course, you're well above the zeros here. Finding support at a higher low here, relatively speaking, and you're about to get this cross. You are looking to kill this bearish momentum and flip it bullish. So that's something to look forward to as well, I think, on a weekly basis. You're going to get that, I think, especially with this breakout of this overall bull flag. You've got good stuff to go. Weekly stochastics are pointed in the right direction. Weekly RSI looks great. Daily stochastics look great. The lower term stuff, the 1 hour stuff, isn't going to help us out as much as far as like MACD and the stochastics go. RSI looks to be a bit at a point of resistance here. It wouldn't surprise me if you did find resistance here. So yeah, that's the expectation. Overall, my friends, you guys know the plan, right? You know the drill. We're going up to prices that are above $1,000, potentially even above $2,000 by the end of June. Now, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but I do want people to understand that we are coming up on the end of this cycle whenever it comes to MicroStrategy, okay? We don't know how close to the top of Bitcoin MSTR is going to top off, right? What I mean by this is just if we're looking at this very literally here, okay? We compare it to Bitcoin, BTC USD here. We'll do the all-time history index. New price scale. We'll make it logged. There we go. Okay, so we can see it here. We'll color you orange, Bitcoin. The color you deserve. We'll color you orange. All right, there we go. And we'll make, actually, we're not going to color you. We're going to make you a candle is what we're going to do. We're going to make you candlesticks. Candles. Okay, so I hope it's very obvious as to which one's Bitcoin right here. This is MicroStrategy. You'll notice here, MicroStrategy last cycle topped off right in February. Okay, Bitcoin, its cycle came to an end about 2 months later in April. Okay, it topped off. It ended its cycle 2 months later, but its all-time high was in November. MicroStrategy was not yet in a bear market, and it actually started its bear market at the same time as Bitcoin. But it stopped its bull market 2 months prior to when Bitcoin stopped its bull market in April there. So when will MSTR top off? That's a really good question, because my expectation is that Bitcoin tops off in October. So with that notion, we would think then that MicroStrategy would top off compared to last cycle maybe in August, September, October, 2 months away, right? Maybe. Or, and this is where things get a little bit tricky, or could MicroStrategy top off 9 months before Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin topped off in November, MicroStrategy technically topped off in February, so 9 months before. I think Bitcoin tops off in October, so I guess it wouldn't be 9 months, right? Because October is not 9 months away. It's only 6 months, not even 6 months away at this point, so 5 months. I'm just saying, with that being thrown out there, the fact that we are less than 9 months away from the high, right? Because I'm expecting that Bitcoin tops off in October. That would put us out over to here. That's 6 months away. We could top off in 5 months, 4 months, 3 months, 2 months. You know what I mean? Like we could top off very soon. There's a reason why we're talking about this. It's not a fun discussion, right? To talk about the fun coming to an end, but we got to talk about it. We got to be real with ourselves. I don't think that MicroStrategy is anywhere near its all-time high this cycle, but I have a theory that the all-time high could be placed by the end of this next move, and to me that makes a lot of sense, because the target growth that we're talking about when we talk about $2,000 is the only sensible area that I can seem to construct whenever it comes to MicroStrategy versus Bitcoin. It's the only sensible area that at least to me makes sense whenever it comes to MSTR versus Bitcoin. Right? We compare it to here. We compare it to if MSTR is going to find resistance versus Bitcoin, where's it going to be? It's likely going to be right here at this low area here, right? Right here at this area. I drew the line is sloped, but I stopped right here. It's all the way back there. It's at that exact area, right? Let me put a horizontal line on there. Something in this area. That's where I think MSTR versus Bitcoin is going to top off. You probably find resistance there. That's the end of your bull cycle. And you likely hit this on your next move. That's my thoughts. Okay. If not your next move, maybe you move up less than expected. Maybe you don't see a $2,000 price from a high to a low. Instead, what you see is you find resistance at this $1,000 to $1,300 area. Maybe that's exactly where you go. But if not, if you do go up here, and if Bitcoin does go to the target areas that I'm thinking, it's very possible that MicroStrategy sees targets that are all the way up at $2,400, maybe even above there, maybe even just below there, something in that area, right? And if you were to see that kind of growth, man, that would be crazy. That'd be crazy, crazy growth to see by the end of June, if not even sometime in July. It could be July, you guys. And at that point in time, are we not close enough to where Bitcoin might top off, that MicroStrategy itself might sell off? That might make sense. I don't know. It's something to consider. If not, we might have 2 more moves, right? The perspective I'm offering here is how many more moves do we have? We had a move up here, nice move up, consolidated. We had another move up here, nice move up, consolidated. We'll have another move up here, nice move up, consolidate, and then one more move maybe. Or maybe we'll just have one more move up altogether, and then that's it. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be, but something that we should prepare ourselves for is that this next area, if we stop by the end of June, sometime in July, if we stop at 1,300 to 1,000, I don't think that's your all-time high for the cycle MicroStrategy. I think that you do continue to grow. But if you do continue higher, if you press higher to these prices that are above $2,000, potentially even around $3,000, if you press higher to that by the end of June, if not sometime in July, if we see that kind of expansion, we're likely dealing with the all-time high for MSTR, and it's time to get out. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. The reason we're talking about this so much right now is that there's 2 important aspects whenever it comes to investing. It's when you buy and when you sell. That's, you know what I mean? Those are the most important aspects. That's how you make money. So talking about when you sell is a very big deal. But all in all, $345 now, and I want to make sense out of this again real quick. Okay, so talking about MicroStrategy going to 1% of a Bitcoin in valuation, right? And maybe even above there. If we take this from a high to a low, your golden ratio, right? That's right above your 1414, but let's say you don't stop there. Let's say you go to your golden ratio. Maybe you hit that. You wick a little bit through this. I could see you wicking through it. It's not the most perfect chart. I could see you wicking through this and going to about 1.35%. But 1% of a Bitcoin, if Bitcoin's at 180K, MicroStrategy is only at $1,800, or that would put MicroStrategy at $1,800, which is not an area that I'm expecting that you stop at. But if you do stop at $1,800, that could be your cycle high. That puts you a little bit ahead of where I'm expecting you to go, between a $1,000 to $1,300 target. Puts you a little bit below the $2,400 target area, right? But that'd be enough for a cycle high. If MSTR versus Bitcoin goes to 1.35% and Bitcoin's at about 180K, I mean, that puts MicroStrategy basically right here at this 2272, and that could be where you stop. That could be the end of the cycle. It's just some perspectives to offer, or maybe what we see is some kind of endeavor where you do run up just below 2K or right there, just below the 2272. You kind of consolidate like you did last time, and then you have one last push. You actually see your all-time highs a lot closer to when Bitcoin tops off, but you still begin your bear market at the same time, right? It wouldn't surprise me if something like that happened too. I don't think that we'll see MicroStrategy sell off immediately once it finds its all-time high. I think we will consolidate and wait for Bitcoin as we did last time. But these are just thoughts, I think that are important to consider. I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, so I'll just end the video there. I got nothing else to say. $345 now. $2,000 is right there, you guys. If not, certainly prices at $1,300 by the end of June, if not sometime in early July, are on the way. We're doing a lot of big things right now, and I think the most important thing to do, if we're looking at this on a, I'm going to delete the Bitcoin chart here. If we're looking at this relative to this fib range here from a high to a low, the most important thing we can do right now is close above the golden ratio. Get above about $392, close above there on a daily basis, and you're golden, man. We're talking about new all-time highs in a very, very short amount of time after that. It wouldn't surprise me if we were above $400. It wouldn't surprise me if we're even above $500 by the end of this month of April. Yes, crazy, crazy growth in a very short amount of time, but certainly I'm expecting prices above $400. 500 is probably in May and beyond, right? But I do believe that we've got some higher prospects to go to before the month is over. A little turbulence now, a little bit of turbulence. Maybe we move down to 320 or something like that, but that's okay if we do. 345 now, and inevitably we're working our way up to prices that are well above $1,000, if not even above $2,000. I got nothing else for you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.